Well, hello. It's Wednesday, July 24th, 2019. Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the topics that we will be covering on today's episode. It's Big Tech versus Big Brother. As not only the Justice Department is opening up an investigation against several tech firms, Facebook is going to be fined $5 billion. And the drone delivery game is starting to heat up as UPS launches a new subsidiary called UPS Flight Forward, with the goal in part to help deliver medical supplies. And we'll be joined by Micah Jackson, the CEO and founder of Escapes. It's a virtual reality massage center that recently opened up in Los Angeles, and I'm saying it's the first step towards total recall. And if you're like me, you like the idea of gardening, except you're terrible at actually keeping the plants alive. So we'll be joined by smart home editor John Velasco today to talk about some new robotic alternatives to killing your plants. We have much more coming up on today's episode of Digital Trends Live. Look at that. That is actually a beautiful shot right there.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous.
Yes, I feel like that's it's movie worthy, and that is what the production staff here brings. I'm not sure whether there was who actually put up that shot, but somebody's going to get commended after the show, and somebody won't. That's really just how that's going to happen.
Somebody won't.
Hello, everyone. Now every shot of me is going to be terrible after this. Hello, everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. This is our daily show here from Digital Trends, where we bring you the trending tech topics of the day, news, headlines, interviews, and so much more, all while broadcasting live across a number of different platforms. So thank you for joining us on those platforms. We're on LinkedIn Live, Periscope, Twitter, Twitch. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on Dailymotion, Apple News. We're on 2 different mobile apps. We're at digitaltrends.com/live and a smart home television app. So wherever you are, you can find Digital Trends Live every day. And thanks for joining us. So drop in your comments as we go through the show. To start off, though, I'm Greg Nibbler, joined by Parker Hall.
Hey, Greg. How's it
Hello,
going?
Parker. Thank you for joining us here today, Parker. I know you've had hours to prepare for this experience, and I do appreciate you.
I'm excited. I've been preparing all morning.
He has been. He has not even slept waiting here just to be here to talk about this. But there's so much news that's going on today. There's a lot that's happening, and a lot of these trending topics we want to bring you up to date on. And the first one we have to get to is all of this government action against big tech. There is a lot going on with this. We've kind of knew that some of this was leading up to this point, but we have official confirmation on a couple of different things that I wanted to bring up. First off, the Justice Department announced on Tuesday that it's going to open up a brand new antitrust review into some of the country's biggest tech firms. So this is huge. It's an antitrust investigation. So to explain what that is essentially they're going after Google, Amazon, Facebook, all mentioned, and talking about whether these companies are too big and should they be broken up. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, it's a conversation about whether these companies that dominate the marketplaces they're in, so, Google in search, Facebook in social media, and, Amazon,
retail,
Amazon and retail, it is, in my opinion, a legitimate question to be asking, like, do these companies have too much power, and are they stifling, smaller companies' growth?
Do we need more competition? And Apple's also included in that as well. Apple's the one where I'm a little bit confused on that one. I mean, it's a giant company, so I feel like that's.
But I'm not sure, I guess, I mean, it's the biggest company on earth, or most valuable, depending on the day.
Well, and I suppose you can look at it different ways with their app store too, and different ways they keep.
True. Yeah. I mean, I know there's like a number of sort of like antitrust advocates that would have pretty serious issues with things that Apple's doing. So,
right. So that's where we're at right now. So this is the department's antitrust division. So they're conferring and seeking information from the public. So it's a full investigation. And what would that mean? And there's another side of this too. We're going to talk about the Facebook side. But what would that mean, if these companies were to be broken up? Like if Facebook, I suppose maybe you could take Instagram and WhatsApp away. That still is not going to stop Facebook. It's still gigantic. When it comes to social media, I mean, those are the two, I would say probably the two biggest platforms.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine there will be some kind of like massive sell-off where like obviously the smaller to medium-sized companies that they own will be split off, or, they'll be sold to other major tech companies. I mean, it's hard to imagine what will happen.
With each other.
I have a feeling that, if anything, these companies are, arguably the most powerful companies on earth.
Correct.
So I would wager that if something, came down from the government, there would be a healthy amount of just like wheeling and dealing to maintain their power.
Yeah,
Whether
to
it's,
keep
you know, so Facebook might not be entirely a social media company anymore.
Right.
Maybe they buy a piece of Google or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
Buys a
but
little piece of each other.
That's how the sort of pessimist in me sees that going down.
I don't see them being broken up in the end because, I think you're right. I think there's going to be wheeling and dealing in there somehow. Maybe there's a little spin-off, something happens along those lines, but they make so much money, it'd be hard. But I want to know what people think. What do you think about these companies if they were to break up? There's a lot of advantages to having big companies like that, for the consumer, but there's also the disadvantages when it comes to privacy information and them having control over so much, and that comes down to the Facebook issue. This is the other thing that came out, and there's actually quite a bit that's coming out constantly. We have a lot of updates at digitaltrends.com. But the Washington Post reports that the yet-to-be-released complaint about Facebook, which is supposed to be released today, and we did anticipate this, is that they're going to be fined $5 billion. $5 billion, and that's an agreement between the FTC and Facebook over some of their business practices.
Yeah, so all of this really, as you said, it comes down to personal information, and they're getting slapped on the wrist for giving basically paid access to personal information above and beyond what consumers sort of expected.
But that's what the crazy thing is. $5 billion is just a slap on the wrist for them.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's a slap on the wrist.
Think about their revenue.
They made $55 billion last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and is that profit or revenue?
That is revenue.
Okay.
$5
yeah.
billion.
So
okay,
it's less than 10% of what they made last year.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're going to make more this year.
Right. So that's one of the things that's coming down about Facebook. They already anticipated this. They had a fund set aside for it.
As every major company does, I think, has like a sort of a slush fund for slaps on the wrist.
Yeah. And part of the revelations that, and this is coming from that report, I believe from the Washington Post for that, is that one of the things they're going to reveal that Facebook had done is, that two-step verification process that you can institute. That's what you're supposed to do on accounts to be extra secure, where you have to send a text message, so it utilizes your mobile phone and your password. Apparently, Facebook might have given access to those phone numbers to third-party advertisers to where they could then use your phone numbers to advertise to you. That one hits me because we talk about security so much on here and being secure and using two-step notification, and I follow because we do so many interviews about it. I hear all the horror stories. I will do two-step notification. It's a pain, but it's worth it. And then to think that that's just being handed off. So
unfortunately, it's hard to control your information anymore, and it's something we talk a lot about. But at the end of the day, if Facebook has so much power and they have all this information, and if they want to use it this way, they might end up getting fined, but there's nothing you can do about it.
There's nothing you can do about it. So that's where we're at. We'll see how this all shakes out. Again, this is just the breaking news. This is what we're finding out about. We've got more write-ups about this at Digital Trends that you can follow up on, and there's a lot that's going on with the Justice Department and the government in general and big tech and this kind of backlash, and in some ways rightfully so. Who should be policing who? We'll have to find out how it all shakes out, but that's where we're at right now. I do want to say thank you to everybody who's watching us live, though. Wherever you are, I see one of the comments here. Jorge just said, hi, guys, I'm watching a great show. Have a great day from Mexico. Well, thank you. Thank you for tuning in.
Nice.
So we do appreciate that.
Really
and
nice
appreciate everybody who's tuning in here, wherever you're finding us. And we do like the comments, and that's one of the things I want to emphasize. We are live, so if you're finding us for the first time, thank you. Hit that subscribe button and drop in your comments throughout the show. We also do a segment now called Read 'em and Weep, where we take a look at some of the comments that come through across our many different platforms and address them directly to you right now. You can look us in the eyes. Just every time that you type that comment, imagine you're looking at Parker. You're typing that to Parker right now. Is that really what you wanted to say? No. I'm just kidding. Some of them are great, but we do like to reply to them direct. So Aaron, regarding the Justice Department, is opening an antitrust review of big tech. Very timely. Bet nothing happens. All these big tech companies have infinite cash reserves, and even a $1 billion fine doesn't really have an impact. I wish I had that kind of cash for a speeding ticket. A $1 billion speeding ticket would be quite a speeding ticket.
Yeah, that's essentially what they're getting, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, this is exactly the take we just had, I think. So
pretty much.
We appreciate you, Aaron. Thank you for agreeing with us.
Yeah, Aaron, right on. I think that's probably how a lot of us are feeling about that. If $5 billion is nothing, then I don't really know what you do other than regulations. That's the only thing I can think that would actually
I think the conversation's important, though. It's important to be having this conversation amongst legislators to have them get a little bit better idea about technology. Because let's be honest, they're not always super up on this. So,
yeah.
If they are having to learn about big tech for, the purposes of, hamstringing them, maybe at least they'll learn about big tech in the process.
Finally understanding it a little bit more?
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Amir, regarding gaming on the go, Asus ROG Phone 2 hands-on review. Let's be honest with ourselves. The irony is this phone is not for hardcore gamers. True gamers use consoles for PCs. This is for ROG fanboys. All right. I mean, yes, to some extent. I can kind of agree. Yes, PC gamers, that's if you're a PC gamer and that's your only stance, then okay, nobody can game on anything else. But I still think people can play games on their phones. It turns out it's a pretty big business.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of really demanding phone games, and having them play smoothly, and if you're into playing games on the go, it's a totally different experience than consoles and PC.
I mean, I'm not going to pay $1,000 for just to play games on the phone, but that's me personally. Somebody else might. And that phone, it looks like a pretty amazing phone actually for how powerful it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's designed for mobile gamers. So
it's for a very specific subset of people.
Yeah.
But I mean, those people are going to love it probably. And hey, another subset of people is paying $1,200 for an iPhone. So
that is true. Yeah, or more, depending on where it ends up with that. So Amir, thank you for your comment, though. Do appreciate that. That was on YouTube. Taking a look at YouTube, I want to say hi to people. Let's see, Tate's from Germany, Paul's from Santa Fe. Just scrolling down here as let's see. We've got somebody tuning in from Dominican Republic. So thanks where everybody's finding us. That's really great. So joining the conversation with us here every single day. Art, regarding Amazon, will give you $5,000 in free smart home tech when you buy a house. We're going to talk about this in just a couple of minutes, actually. Alexa may keep the thieves at bay, but you're unknowingly inviting the fox in the hen house. Alexa is sneaking off with all of your data. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know what else to say to that, except for you kind of nailed it. We're going to go into that in a little bit, so in case anybody doesn't know the full story. Yeah, that's another thing to talk about, though, that when it comes to, I mean, data insecurity is really just it's the sign of the times. It's the thing that we all have to worry about.
Data is the oil of the 21st century.
Yeah. Ooh, that's good. That's a solid analogy right
it's
there.
a $1 trillion business.
Yeah.
And of course Amazon wants it. It's a $1 trillion business.
Everybody
Amazon
wants it.
Likes money.
Yeah.
They're very good at finding money.
It turns out they are. All those companies are pretty good at it. So yeah, Art, I definitely see what you're saying. We'll explain that a little bit more, though, for anybody who's not up to date on that story and what exactly that means here in just a minute as we go through the show. Continuing on with Read 'em and Weep. I'm not even going to attempt that. Snihith. Regarding this robot feeds you tomatoes while you run. Every time people this video, we've shared this video so many times, people just get all worked up about it. Any potential nutritional benefit is immediately negated by the fact that you're running with a 20-pound robot backpack. I can't with this. I mean, at the end of the day, so
did anyone take? I can't believe people took this seriously.
People get so worked up about this one. So this guy invented a backpack with a robotic arm that feeds him tomatoes while he runs. That's true. This is what happened. Now, there is no nutritional value of eating a tomato on the run. There's not much to it.
I mean, there probably is, though. If he's eating enough tomatoes, like...
I guess if you ate enough.
Like, how fast can you eat a tomato? Because I bet you could eat more than, like, a tomato a mile.
You could, but I mean, you're running at the same time, and it's mostly water. I mean, now we're
debating it. But this is just a hilarious video, and you have got to watch it if you haven't seen it. It's one of the best videos on the internet.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, I think this is what technology is all about. This dude's like, I like running. I like tomatoes. I've got a problem here. I can't carry them all in my pockets.
It's like the crappy robots, like YouTuber, but it actually works, kind of.
Yeah. We need to get this guy on the show, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, we need to set this up. We
need to do a live demonstration.
A live demonstration. We need to get him on the show. But either way, Snihith, thank you for your comment there. That was on Twitter, and we do broadcast on so many different platforms. Harry, regarding Attorney General, says the government should have access to your mobile data. Then we, the people, should also have access to government officials' data too, then see how much they push for this legislation. All right, I'm good.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I also think that politicians should have send their kids to public school, but that's this is a similar related thing. You want my data? Let me have your data.
Yeah, boom. Parker's challenging you right now. So there you go, government.
Yeah, government.
Take that,
Come on.
dear government. All right, that's there's so many different discussions to have about all of this right now. But let's go on and let's talk about a couple other things. Let's talk about this Amazon. comment that just got brought up. So this is something that Amazon has launched, and it's essentially this: Amazon will give you $5,000 in free smart home tech when you buy a house through this particular agency. So what they've done is this: they've teamed up with Reology, which is a real estate firm, a real estate group, a real estate service company. And if you buy a house through one of the approved real estate agents that they have as part of this Amazon turnkey program, then the more that you spend, the more you get in free credit towards Amazon smart home products.
Yeah.
So you can get up to $5,000 in Amazon credit depending on what level of home you buy. So if you buy a $700,000 or more home, you can get $5,000 of Amazon products, which would be 4 Echo Spots, 2 Echo Shows, a Ring doorbell, Z-Wave Connect Camelot Deadbolt, 2 Fire TV cubes, and on. All smart home products to try to outfit your home with Amazon-related products. Smart move, I think, by Amazon.
Yeah, totally. I mean, who wouldn't take them up on this?
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it's a great idea. The other aspect is this, that now you have every single Amazon device in your home, all wired up, ready to go. I think I'm a little, so I already use an Echo Dot, and I'm a little bit less I know they're getting all my data. Right.
But the benefits of all of a sudden having a smart home outweigh to me the risks of them having all of my data. Because at the end of the day, I think, we had a story a little while ago about Facebook selling all your data and each person's data being worth like 8 cents or something.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, 8 cents.
So, should companies have all this access to our data? Maybe not. Is having a smart home really awesome, and not having to set an alarm every night, and getting the news and the weather, and having a doorbell that tells you when someone's there, and on and on and on and on. It's the convenience factor that I think is appealing.
Yeah, and I do agree. There's a lot of convenience to it. I mean, I've slowly just found myself, I have several smart home products at home now, and they're kind of awesome. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of smart home plugs now. I mean, it is. That convenience factor and just the cool things you can do is great. But that is the trade-off. You know that some of that data is out there. I think the key thing for me, I'm comfortable with some of that data being utilized by them in some way, as long as it's not personalized, as long as it's secure. That I think is the big issue.
I think I'm sure Amazon's perspective on all this, or at least I can imagine their perspective, is so there's all these competing products. There's the Apple home device segment. There's the Google Home segment. And there's the Alexa segment, and they're figuring hey, if we can get some, frankly, fairly wealthy people, right? If you're buying a $700,000 home,
right?
If we can get them sort of hook, line, and sinker on ours, then they'll be less likely to change if they own 4 Echo Spots, 2 Echo Shows, a Ring Doorbell Pro, a Z-Wave Connect Camelot Deadbolt 2, 2 Fire TV tubes, 2 Sonos beams, 12 Casa smart bulbs, an Eero Wi-Fi system, and a Smart Things hub.
All of that for only $700,000. You too.
I have a feeling they're less likely to buy a Chromecast.
Right. Because they're already in that ecosystem. I mean, it's a very smart move on Amazon's side of things. But let us know what you think about that. That's just one of the ways they're trying to get ahead in the smart home game is by giving you free stuff if you have $700,000.
You have $700,000.
All right, continuing on with some news topics here that we just want to bring you up to date on. These are trending stories. This is what we do every day here at Digital Trends Live. This is another trending story. It has to do with UPS, and we know that drone deliveries they're going to be a thing. There are companies that are working very hard on this, including Amazon. We've got Google with Wing, and Wing already has actually approval in certain areas. I believe it's in Virginia. They have a specific area where they can do drone deliveries, at least here in the United States. Australia already has them in different areas. This is UPS. They've been wanting to be a part of this as well. And they just launched a subsidiary called UPS Flight Forward. And the new unit has already applied for an FAA for Part 135 air carrier certification, which, if that gives them that, it kind of paves the way for them to expand into specific delivery that they're looking at, which is healthcare networks. I think that's kind of an interesting way for them to go about it.
Yeah, and it says that they're planning on, the certification would let them fly at night.
Yeah.
So it'd be for nighttime delivery between, hospitals, I'm assuming clinics, other kind of stuff.
Yeah, probably emergency things that need to be delivered.
Yeah, but then the question is what are they flying over your head? Is it medicine or is it blood.
Right. Yeah. What exactly is being allowed over there? Because that's the other part. They would be able to fly over populated areas. And that's been a restriction for a lot of things before. But yeah, fly over populated areas and also be able to deliver these healthcare products.
Yeah, it says they would be transporting, so it'd be more for hospitals, and it'd be transporting samples across big campuses.
Okay.
So it'd be, it sounds like it's from one part of a giant hospital to another part, which makes a lot of sense.
I mean, yeah,
if someone walking.
Exactly. If this speeds up and assists people and helps with healthcare, I am 100% for it. I think that's a great idea. So yeah, there's kind of their demonstration showcasing how quickly they could do that. Get there. Yeah. I mean, in this aspect, I think that's a great use of it. And that's part of what Wing, I believe, was doing as well, was along those lines, looking for that medical aspect of it, which I didn't realize was such a big, there was such a big need for it. And
yeah.
Granted, I don't work in the health industry, and clearly I was ignorant of that fact, but yeah, it does make sense now that you're thinking about it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's also a smart way for these companies to sort of get in, with a positive spin on drone delivery,
True.
like right at the start. If they're working with, the Aviation Administration on trying to get approval for more broad, more widespread like deliveries, it would make sense for them to be like, well, see, we're using this super well at these hospitals.
Yeah.
And it's benefiting people there,
Yeah, showcasing some of the different aspects that they could do. Well, that's the news. So on UPS, I know we've got time here for one more. So you can follow up with that story at digitaltrends.com. UPS with their flight forward. Let's talk about this person. Talking about a lucky break. So this is a former NASA intern. Has named Gary George, who's a former engineer as well. He was a college student, and what he would do is he would buy old government stockpiles of things and then resell them, sell them for different aspects, and including back in the day in 1976, he bought a giant box of old reel tapes from that turned out to be from NASA, and then what he's going to do is sell them to television networks to tape over them. Because the
tape was worth so much money.
The tape was worth more money than what was on the tapes, except for one set of them that his father saw them and thought, we should probably hold on to those because it said Apollo 11 EVA, I believe is what it was, and that turned out to be the last actual original tapes of the moon landing and the moon walk itself. Because the other ones got destroyed during the process of over the years, this is the actual original footage that he had sitting in a box in his basement whatever for all of these.
He paid $218 for them in 1976 and just sold them for $1.8 million.
$1.8 million. Oof. And the reason he discovered that he had them was, I guess I read about this, that he was actually on vacation, I believe, with one of his buddies who was was a NASA employee at the time, and this NASA employee was telling him about how, I'm in charge of this project. We're trying to hunt down these original Apollo 11 tapes, and he said it just clicked with him. He's like, I have those.
Those are mine.
Oh wait, yeah, no, I got those in a box at home. You mean the Apollo 11 tapes?
Imagine like that.
The moon landing.
The serendipity of that.
Yeah.
Though, that this dude's like, we really need these tapes, and he's like, those are in my garage.
What are they? Yeah, no, dude,
I hope
got
they're still okay. I store them next to like the old wine.
Yeah. So discovered them, he put them up. Then for auction, they sold to a private buyer for $1.8 million. So that's pretty amazing. Go through your old boxes now, and I don't think I have any moon landing tapes, but now I want to know what I have.
I know. Don't you ever wonder like what the rarest thing you own is?
Right? Yeah. Dang it. Something in there is worth
My precious.
Yeah. All right. We read that at digitaltrends.com. I know we need to get to a break because we've got a lot coming up here on the show today. We're going to be covering all kinds of things. And Luke Larson's going to be joining us here in a little bit, kind of showcasing 3 different laptops. And I'm going to actually decide which one is the best one, which is not how that normally works. We've got John Velasco, our new smart home editor, is going to join us later on the show. But right now, I want to say thank you to Parker Hall.
Thanks
Parker,
for having me.
thanks for joining us. You can follow up on all those stories at digitaltrends.com. Coming up next, we've got Micah Jackson who's going to join us, and he is the founder of Escapes, which is a virtual reality massage center in LA. I find it very interesting, different kind of use of virtual reality. We actually talked about it on a show a few weeks ago, and now he's going to be joining us to talk about the platform, what inspired it, what all you can do with it, and maybe where this whole craze is going to go with virtual reality and just unique uses of it. So lots to talk about. We'll be back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining us. Again, we broadcast live on a lot of different platforms. I saw some new faces in there today, or new names rather. And thanks for joining us. So drop in your comments and questions as we go through the show. And we'd like to talk about cutting edge technology and the ways it's being utilized for you. In particular, this is a topic that we brought up a while ago, and I'm very fascinated by what's going on with this, and it's utilizing virtual reality in a different way. And joining us right now, we have Micah Jackson, who is the founder of Escapes Immersive Relaxation out of Los Angeles. Hello, Micah.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks so much for joining us. You know, I love personally virtual reality, augmented reality. I like these different ways that it's being utilized. And, you know, we see a lot in gaming, a lot of entertainment, but this is a different kind of use of it. And I want to talk to you about this and maybe get a little bit of your backstory and the inspiration for founding this company. And then we'll talk about the technology behind it.
Sure. So basically, I've been fascinated with VR since I saw the first Oculus DK1 demo in I think it was 2015 or something like that. And from that point on, I was, kind of dead set on working in VR. So a few years ago, I actually started working on my own projects, and in 2017 was a part of the Oculus Launchpad program, which is where I learned how to develop basically these escapes. But one of the things I realized in working on VR projects is that I would just sit at home and create these beautiful environments and just kind of sit there with the headset on. And that was sort of the start of eventually what became Escapes.
So you were creating these kind of landscapes for yourself. In particular, we're seeing a demonstration here right now. So you would create like landscapes. Is that mainly what you were working on?
Yeah, so initially I was working on, basically it was like a 30-minute kind of short film in VR. And one of the scenarios was sort of like this heavenly environment. And out of that was one of the escapes we offer is called Heavenly Garden, which is kind of a derivative of it. And that was one of the when I created that environment, I would just sit there and just, kind of look around. And I started thinking I wonder if other people would like to do this, and then I was sort of like, well, how do I get people to sit still? Because VR is, currently such an interactive, active, sort of more targeted toward gamers, platform. And so in thinking about that, it was, I was walking one day and thought about the massage chairs, and it was sort of like, an epiphany at that moment. It was like, oh, it's a perfect way to keep people stationary, but then also have them enjoy being stationary while sitting in the world.
So. Right. Yeah. I mean, that would be such an interactive experience. That's hilarious. You were just walking along and saw one of those massage chairs, like, oh, That makes
Yeah.
sense. Well,
Yeah, exactly.
so you go from there, you get this idea, you open up this place, and then you've created different kinds of environments. So let's walk through what that actual consumer experience is like. If somebody walks in, so you said it's chairs specifically, so it's not somebody actually massaging you while you're in the VR world.
Correct. So we use, and these are not the massage chairs you see at the mall or at the car wash. These are high-end, top-of-the-line massage chairs, and they give you a full body massage. So everything from your head to your toes, your arms, and then we also offer a heat therapy option because some of the chairs actually, well, all the ones we carry have uh, full body heat. So while getting a very relaxing massage, you're also transported to a virtual environment of your choice. We have 10 different environments to choose from. And then even to heighten the environment, we have what I call extrasensory elements. So we can simulate wind. We provide different fragrances based on the escape environment that you're in. And then we even simulate warmth, the heat from the sun. And then one escape, we have a fireplace. And so we simulate the warmth that you would feel there. So we really try to immerse the guest in the environment and help them to relax.
That's pretty amazing. What's the response been so far from these?
So far, it's been incredible. We've had I would say 98% of the people that have come have loved it. And in fact, for many, it's actually their first VR experience, and I think it's one of the interesting things about escapes is that because it's not an active, game or interactive based kind of business, it's more accessible. I think, a lot of people that normally wouldn't have tried a VR, gone to a VR center and played games and that kind of thing, are more willing to give this a shot because they're not, expected to do anything. And then the other thing we found is that people, and I've had a couple of people actually say this that have done VR in the past, or maybe they've done one or two experiences. They were like, "Oh, this is great because, I didn't get dizzy. Like there wasn't some of the negative reactions that some people have to VR, it just aren't present because you're stationary and the focus is to relax." So it's been really good. We've had a very positive reaction from people that have come and done it.
It looks amazing. I've got to be honest. I kind of want to try it right now. That sounds awesome. What kind of equipment are you using? What setup do you have?
Yeah, so we're using Windows PCs, and we use the Oculus Rift S currently because we want to. Basically, the environments they're all CG, they're all generated. However, we're really going after realism, so we have some pretty beefy PCs to run the environments.
How many do you have set up right now?
So we have 3 rooms, or what I call pods, set up, and we can take pretty much 6 appointments per hour. So and we're based here in Los Angeles, in the heart of LA.
So you've got these 3 systems right now, and you've got 10 different scenarios. I think is what you said. 10 different. I don't know what the right word would be. 10 different escapes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Escapes or escape environments.
So 10 different environments. Do you have any plans on going forward on different ways you'd like to accent this, or as virtual reality changes? I'm sure you're up to date on everything going on in VR, like haptic suits or any other ideas for that going forward?
Yeah, so one of the things that's interesting, so the chairs that we use, we don't create any of the hardware, but one of the things that probably the next step is trying to find a way to sync the massage a little bit more with the experience. And so next steps are sort of, talking with the manufacturers of the equipment. In terms of haptics, that is something that I'm interested in as well. As a VR fan and user at home, I have like a haptics chair that I use for gaming and that kind of thing. And I think it provides an interesting additional level of immersion that, we'll definitely experiment with. I think, too, one of the things moving forward is trying to continue to further immerse people in new escapes that so I've gotten a lot of suggestions for outer space environments and, more fantastic environments. And I think that's one of the other things that we're going to look into in the future is providing things that you really couldn't do in real life, and having people, relax in ways in which they've never thought of before. So I think that's why VR is such a cool, medium for this, because you can really literally transport people somewhere else.
Yeah, I think you are definitely onto something with this. This is a brilliant idea that you've created here. Well, and for everybody at home, for everybody who's going to be going to LA for right now, where's the best place for them to go, or at least to even go online and take a look at it?
Yeah, so they can go to our website. It's My Escapes, but spelled with a Q, MYESQAPE.com. And then we're located basically in the SAG-AFTRA building, which is the Screen Actors Guild building in Los Angeles, near the La Brea Tar Pits. So we're like I said, we're in the heart of LA, right in an area where there's a lot of cool and interesting things to do, and we're one of those. So
it doesn't get more LA than being in the SAG-AFTRA building. So
exactly.
that's the whole experience. Well, Micah, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you being on here today. Really, really great idea, great use of VR, and thanks for sharing it here on Digital Trends Live.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, that's cool. I want to go try that now. Next time I'm in LA, I'm definitely going to go try an escape. That sounds awesome. Great use of virtual reality, and that's what part of the fun thing that we get to do here. We get to talk to entrepreneurs, people using technology in different ways. So we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to catch up here because we have Luke Larson coming in. He's going to show 3 laptops, and I'm going to decide which laptop I would want, and I want everybody at home who's watching to decide as well. So he's going to walk through the features. Everybody at home, everybody watching, or wherever you are, everybody watching online, I want you to join in on this too. We'll be back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. This is Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining us today. Hit that subscribe button to make sure you get the notification when we go live, which the secret is it's every weekday at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, and wherever you're watching, thanks for joining it. Right now, we are going to have a bit of an interactive segment because I want you to play along with me at home. Joining us right now here on the show, I'm Greg Nibbler, joined by Luke Larson.
Hey, Greg, are you ready for this?
I'm ready for this. So this is a different segment that we're going to try here. Luke, obviously is our expert in laptops and computing, and he has brought in 3 different laptops. I myself personally am in the market for a laptop. He's going to show us these 3, walk through some of the features, and at the end, I'm going to tell you which one I think is the best one that I would buy, and I want everybody at home to do the same thing.
Yeah, this is kind of an experiment for me.
It is.
I review laptops. I look at every laptop that comes out, especially these
you rate them,
high-end
you rank
ones.
them.
Yeah, so I kind of know what I'm looking for, what I think the average person looks for, but I want to know what you're looking for, because I want this to imagine yourself like you walk into Best Buy.
Okay.
And you're like,
I need to buy a laptop. Where
What do I start
buy?
with?
And what do you look for? So
Yeah.
the three that I've got here for you, these are some of the best ones. These are some of the best of the best.
Okay.
They're all around $1,000.
Okay.
Okay, so they're
all right.
they're nice laptops for sure.
Okay.
Their starting price is around $1,000, so you can go up from there, obviously.
Okay.
But should we start walking through?
Yeah,
some of
let's
these?
walk
Okay.
through some of these. So we've
Okay.
got three different ones.
Three
We're just
different
going to
ones.
showcase some of the features of each one of these.
Yeah.
These are some of the best laptops that you can buy right now.
Yeah, new in 2019. They've got good stuff going. Okay, so here is the Dell XPS 13.
Okay.
You may have heard of this guy.
Yes. Have you seen this?
So
What are the key features that you think are the best here?
So, I mean, the thing that comes out first, what I think I'm going to do to make this a little bit easier, I'm gonna get all three of these out because it's hard to talk about one of them at a time without getting into how they differ from each other.
Okay.
So I'm going to introduce each. So that's the Dell XPS 13.
All right.
This is the Surface Laptop 2.
Ooh, I like that. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
There's the
Laptop
Surface
2.
Laptop 2.
Both, very highly ranked laptops.
Yes. And lastly, the HP Spectre X360.
Is this the one with the leather?
Sure,
Oh, no, that's not the one.
that is not the leather one.
That's
That
not
is
the
that
leather.
is a fun one though. So those are the three that I'm kind of presenting to you. Okay.
Okay. So we're
hopefully-
taking a look at these, and we're going to walk down the line.
Now we can more adequately walk down the line.
There we go. We've got them all laid out here. So
The Dell-
again, at home,
Yeah.
decide, be paying attention to what Luke's saying.
Play
and
along.
decide which one you, would pick.
So they all start with, they're all, like I said, around $1,000. They all come with 8 gigabytes of RAM. They all come with a 256 gigabyte SSD.
Okay.
All the kind of basic stuff. You can go up from there. And
Okay.
obviously.
8
Those-
gigs
the
RAM,
basic stuff.
250
Yep.
hard drive. All three. Okay.
So the XPS 13, I think the first thing that you can notice about it is the form factor.
Yes.
It's when you have these three standing like this, it's the smallest. So it's the go-to if you're like a traveler. If you're
Okay.
this is the ultimate airplane laptop.
Okay.
Outside of like a mini like tiny laptop. This is like the best like 13-inch laptop that you would take on an airplane for you all the time because it has those really thin bezels. So that kind of creates a smaller footprint. So if you put this up on your your tray on in your airplane seat, like, it's
Okay.
going to work perfectly for
That's
that.
good. I like traveling. Okay.
Good, good.
I'm good with that.
Okay,
All right.
he likes traveling. Not only that, it gives it a sleek look. I mean, it's like
Yeah, it
the
does.
thin bezels really are something cool about this.
And that's
But
the Dell XPS 13.
that's the XPS 13. The other thing to know about it, and this is kind of different across the board here, is the materials. Each of these uses different materials. It gives a sort of a different feel. So like what you get in the XPS 13 here, this is a plastic. It's like they call it a woven like micro plastic. I don't know if
Okay.
that was the wrong word, but it's like a woven carbon.
Like a microfiber kind of thing.
Well,
No,
hopefully not I hate
no,
microfiber.
not microfiber. Okay.
This is probably the closest to microfiber you can get.
Okay.
But it's a plastic on the inside. On the outside, it's an aluminum. So it's still rigid. You get that from the aluminum and the premium feel, but on the inside, you get this nice plastic. Not everybody likes it. I do like it quite a bit. So that's that.
Okay.
This one, the Surface Laptop 2.
That was the Dell XPS 13.
Dell
walking
XPS
down
13.
the line.
Yes.
As we take a look at these.
And this is the Surface Laptop 2. I see you have a Surface Pro there.
I do indeed.
So this might be up your alley.
Well,
We'll see.
Yeah.
So a couple of the same things there with form factor and materials. So as you can see, this is slightly taller than these other laptops.
Yes.
This has a 3:2 aspect ratio screen. So these are both 16:9. It's a little more conventional. The 3:2 is a little bit taller.
Okay.
And what that means is, you have a little bit more space for whatever you're doing. So I tend to think of this one as a good one for people who do a lot of work on the web.
Yeah.
Like if you're a writer, you can see more of, you can literally see more of your work when you're doing it.
Okay. I like that aspect a lot.
Yeah, I
I
do
have a
too.
lot of windows that are open.
Yeah, exactly. And you get the taller vertical space.
Okay.
The second thing to know about it is the material. So I don't know if you felt, it's kind of similar to that, but it's a textured kind of feeling. And
The texture is important though when you're using a laptop because you figure your hands are going to be on this all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It really is true. And your wrists are going to be there all the time. What I like about this, as opposed to something like this, which is aluminum, it's kind of a nicer. It's kind of weird. It's like a comfort thing though. It's like it's not this cold, aluminum,
Right.
which isn't always the best thing to have your hands on all the time. I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing, but I've grown to like this a lot. Downside, it's a little bit it gets dusty easily, and like and I think it looks more like used. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not that it wears down, but like as opposed to something like plastic or aluminum, it just kind of like you can see
true.
more of the dirt and the dust.
Yeah, I'm looking at mine now, and I'm glad that I can't actually have a camera on.
You're the only one that can see that. Okay, so that's the Surface Laptop 2.
Surface Laptop 2. We have the Dell XPS 13 down to the end. Surface Lap 2, and now this.
Let's get to the HP Spectre X360. So the first thing, it's for materials, it's aluminum. So you get that super kind of high quality feel to it. Form factor wise, it's 16 by 9, but the thing that's different about this is it's a like 360 degree. You can use it as a tablet. So
Okay.
you can flip it all the way around, or another thing you can do it is like put it in this mode. So like if you like to watch like Netflix, you can do that, and you kind of like clear away the keyboard and just like
just have that sitting there.
yeah. So that's a kind of a view that a lot of people I think like to use this laptop for. So that's kind of like, it kind of puts it in a different category because it can be used as a tablet and it has that other like viewing mode that these don't have. So if you like that sort of thing, this might be something you might gravitate towards. So,
And it's got a speaker bar here too. I noticed.
it does have a speaker bar up front. They're not amazing though.
Okay.
None of these three have great speakers. I will just say that right now.
That's fine. I'm not going to be using those much anyway. Okay,
So
all three
just
of these
based
are around
on
the same price.
Based on that alone,
Based on
where
what
are you
you've just shown
gravitating
me.
towards?
I will tell you right now, I've already made my decision.
You've already made your decision?
I already know.
Because I have more things to tell you, but you've already made your decision.
Well, I made my decision.
If you had to make it right now, what would you?
Well, I'll tell you what it would come down to. Which two?
Yeah.
One, I can't. As much as I like that computer on the end, the XPS 13, that white is not going to work for me because it's going to be dirty. It's just I know I'll be constantly cleaning it.
Interesting.
And I'm sure that's a nice setup, but for the same price, I'm going for a bigger screen.
Okay, so
If it's the same price, I want the bigger screen.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're leaning towards the Surface?
So we have these two right here.
Okay.
Okay, so right now, when I'm looking at the two of these, I mean, I'm not seeing a whole other than this is a little bit bigger. What I would, the change from me, and because I am in the market for a laptop, what I would look for in this, what I would actually buy, is more functionality.
Okay.
It's this aspect right here.
That does something for you?
That does something for me right
Okay.
there.
You want me to give you a couple more details just to kind of flesh out these, the side by side?
I know we're running out of time.
Okay.
So I know we got to get to a break here pretty soon. But yes, if there was one more thing.
One more thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Ports.
Yes. Oh, I didn't factor in the ports.
This guy has some better port selection. So it has USB-A, obviously, which the XPS does not have.
Okay, already eliminated.
USB-C.
It's a great laptop.
USB-C, and it has a micro SD slot. Okay.
Okay.
The Surface Laptop 2, no USB-C, and USB-A, and a weird mini display port.
Okay.
So kind of a weird display port choice there, whereas this has Thunderbolt 3, so you can plug in a display really easily through that. You can also charge like if you have a Thunder or if you have a USB-C phone, use the same cord for both. I really like stuff like that. So that was the last thing. Also, you get more power with this. This is a little bit less powerful.
So I think I chose correctly.
I think you chose here from what I can tell.
Yes.
Based on those things.
The Spectre is the one that I would choose on that.
Very interesting, Greg.
Yeah,
That's not what I thought.
And I look classy. I know. So what would you have guessed?
I would have thought you would have gone towards one of these two.
Yeah.
Maybe the Surface.
It seems like more me, but I'm trying to class it up a little bit.
It is a classy looking laptop.
Yeah.
So.
And I have the other screen options. That's what I was looking at. All right. Well, Luke, I know we're out of time. I know I got to get to
No,
break,
no
but
worries.
Luke, thank you for presenting all three of these. And there's reviews of all of these at digitaltrends.com. This is the one I'm going to go for. I'm actually going to look at the price of that after the show because I am in the market for one.
Highly ranked over Digital Trends. We gave this a 10 out of 10
Dang.
score.
Okay, so I knew what I was doing.
You knew what you were doing.
I knew what I was doing. I didn't even know it. All right, we need to go to break. Luke, thank you.
Yep.
Very much. Coming up, we have joining us. So we've got a lot more coming up here on Digital Trends Live. We have Michael York, who is the CEO and director of Crop Corp, and we're talking about marijuana. We're talking about cannabis. We're talking about the influence of tech in it and how that has changed the business. We're going to discuss all of that and so much more. Stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Yeah, I want this. And welcome back to Digital Trends Live as we continue on through our show, bringing you up to date on all kinds of tech headlines, news, and interviews and discussions about how technology can affect your life and how it changes business. And we've got a combination of several different things that we're going to be discussing right now. Joining us here on the show, very happy to welcome Michael York, the CEO and director of CropCorp. Hello.
Hey, Greg, how are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for joining us today. This is such an interesting time that we live in where we're talking about technology associated with cannabis and the proliferation and how many different places where it's legalized here in the United States right now by the state level and how that's changing the way that we do business and how technology is affecting it. And I think maybe just to bring everybody kind of up to speed, if we give everybody just a base level of knowledge, can you just walk us through a little bit of your background and then where this is legal and how that side of things works?
Sure. So I started in venture capital in the mining industry up in Canada. The mining industry started to falter in 2014-15, and the move shifted over to tech and biotech and cannabis. And some friends of mine and I, we really started to see a lot more popularity with cannabis in Canada. So basically, we decided that we wanted to enter that market, but that the U.S. offered much more potential, really. So we got into Washington, followed by California, Nevada, and now we're also in Oklahoma. And we actually approach the cannabis market through infrastructure and real estate. As we're a Canadian company, we felt that that was the best way for us at the time in sort of mid-2017 to start to really make the push into the United States as socially, the trends and the acceptability has definitely increased over the last 5 years substantially, but that was our initial entrance way into the market.
So you're in those 4 states right now, and let's talk about the infrastructure side of it and how it's changed in what exactly you do and how the agricultural side of it has changed utilizing technology. Can you kind of walk us through some of the key points for your business?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess in regards to technology, some of the stuff that's really come up is agricultural technology. So things have been retrofitted from, say, corn crops to being able to plant. As you see this picture here, we have a large pivot. So we have a farm in Nevada. It's 1,350 acres. And on that, we have multiple pivots. And that's how we're able to actually feed those plants that are outdoor on that market or on that farm. Then when it comes to robotic technology, things like, being able to de-leaf the plant rather than doing it manually. AI with being able to look at the plants, scan the plants, check their humidity, the complete environmental monitoring of any sort of indoor grow. It's really part and parcel with technology right now. It's just a really fascinating business with all the things that are happening.
You mentioned utilizing something that was maybe used for corn or a different product and applying it to this. Was there a lot of that kind of piecemeal, like, well, this aspect of growing a cannabis plant is similar to this part of a tomato, and taking technology from a bunch of different agricultural products and then applying it to it, or was it starting from the ground up and creating your own?
No, yeah. I mean, it was looking at other technology and sort of seeing how we could retrofit that for our farms, and then moving forward. And again, it just can't. The amount of man hours it takes to plant a farm of 1,350 acres, I can't even tell you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, tremendous amount of time. So utilizing this kind of technology is certainly extremely helpful. How important do you think technology is going forward in this industry?
Oh, extremely forward. I mean, it's going to save so much as far as costs, as far as man hours, the ability on the indoor level to control the entire environment, the water of the plants, the pH level of the water, the nutrient feed, the humidity, being able to scan the plants, setting up a grow room where you're not even physically maybe able to access that with your feet. But you have cameras that are able to scan the plant and really look into it to test if there's anything wrong with it. So I mean, it's invaluable moving forward.
Where do you see the industry as a whole going? Do you see this expanding? I mean, in particular, I know we have people watching from all over the world, but for the United States, it's legal in several states. But do you see this expanding across? Do you see the demand growing? How's the industry as a whole doing?
Yeah, I definitely see demand growing through the entire desire of cannabinoids, finding out about the endocannabinoid system and how this natural plant can help us. Not only that, but the recreational market, it offers far more safer benefits than, say, alcohol. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to stop. I think there's going to be more of a trend towards concentrated products moving forward, just because it's a lot easier to use than, say, getting a flower and having to break it up, roll it, and smoke it. People are also more offended by the odor, so that's another reason for vaporizers as well.
So vaporizers, what other kinds of products do you see going forward, maybe, for your business in particular?
Well, what is really cool and interesting right now is finding out these different balances of cannabinoids and flavonoids and terpenes to find out what effects that they actually have on people. Some people will, have some and they'll feel really excited, and other people will feel really tired. Some people will lose their memory. Other people's will have memory. Some people will get hungry. Others will not want to eat. So there's so much moving forward to define exactly what types of products are going to be available to customers.
It's extremely complex chemically, agriculturally, and then even getting into the technology side of it. There's a lot of facets to that on what you could do.
Yeah.
So for your company in particular, where are you at right now? We kind of covered, that you're in all of these states, but how do you sell your products? Who do you sell yours to? And then how do people get their hands on those?
Sure. So right now, we've been mostly focused on the cultivation and the infrastructure side. So we have American partners that we are able to finance and be able to basically build out the infrastructure and help them vertically integrate downward. So that's sort of the steps that it takes to get the product from, let's say soil to oil in the terms of vaporizers. Each state comes with a plethora of different legislative and regulatory hurdles that have to be jumped through. So that's one of the great things about us, is really working through these different legislative hurdles, and that's really the biggest challenge, as well as in some areas the black market and acceptance, right? Because taxes and things like that are keeping the prices quite high, where it's easier for somebody to just go to an illegal shop and get it for much less, but then they don't know where it's coming from, and who's been doing the work.
It's a lot of factors. I mean, it's still in some ways kind of the Wild West with it, but it's certainly coming to fruition as an actual, clearly a legitimate product that's going to be changing a lot. It's a huge industry, and it sounds like you're right at the forefront of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's something, cannabis is 60,000 years old. I think the oldest found use is 5,000 years in a Chinese tomb. So it's been around forever. It's only really been dogma for the last 100 years in the United States, and obviously, North America has such a strong influence on other cultures of the world. It's really incredible. Even when I talk to my parents, it still takes time for them to really get it in their head. I mean, for me, I have an autoimmune disease, so I've taken it instead of opioids. So they have seen the direct effects of that. I mean, it's just incredible.
That's great. Well, I mean, Michael, thank you so much for joining us to talk about this, talk about where your company's at. Congrats on being, at the forefront of this huge expanding industry and where you're at right now. And yeah, thanks for being here on Digital Trends Live.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And I got to tell you, I would have picked the same one. I was watching before, and I really like that one.
It just looked good, right?
Yeah, look, when I saw the flip feature, I was like, oh, I like that.
That's what it was. That's what put me over the edge. Well, Michael, thanks so much for being here on Digital Trends Live today.
It's a pleasure. Take care.
All right, so there we go, talking about an industry that's just, really starting to grow and really starting to take off, and how that works, how the agriculture, how the technology works on that side, and what Michael is doing there with Crop Corp. very interesting stuff. And we have a lot more interesting stuff to talk about. We need to get to a break, and that's what we're going to do. And then I'm going to bring you up to date on some other technology that's going on, something that's going to be happening later today that you can watch. I'll tell you all about that. We've got a lot to discuss, and we're broadcasting live, so that means we can discuss it with you. Take your comments, your questions, whatever you want to bring up, drop those in there in the chat. We'll be back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Hello, this is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for joining us. We have a lot to discuss coming up here in just a little bit. We're going to be joined by John Velasco, who's our new smart home editor, who's going to be joining the show for the first time. We're going to discuss some different news items in smart homes. But before we get to that and an interview, I need to bring you up to date on some other items in the news and things that we're covering here at Digital Trends. So the first one that I wanted to talk about has to do with rescue technology in a way, and also dogs. I'll explain. So we're talking about using haptic technology. And in case you don't know what haptic technology is, that's items where you can actually feel the pressure points, like pressure points on anything. So this haptic technology is being utilized in a new kind of vest. This is an experiment that was going on at Al Ben Gurion University in Israel, where researchers have been trying to figure out different ways to utilize that technology in particular rescue situations. And we see that a lot going on with robotics, how robotics are being used in rescue situations, but rescue dogs are very important. If there's any kind of disaster, they can get in. I think we all know the benefits of a rescue animal in that they can smell, they can get to different places, but sometimes the humans can't get to where they're going. And that's been an issue with that, is how do you control and help direct an animal to where it needs to go when you don't have any visual or auditory, connection to them. So this is something that they've come up with. It's a haptic jacket that can be used to provide instructions through specific vibrations. It's a pretty unique use of this technology. And so this one in particular has 4 different vibration motors on it. Then you have a remote control that you can utilize. And they said they wanted to teach the dog different commands using those haptic cues. So if they're not around, and like they're demonstrating, turn around in a circle. There's different aspects that they were working on with this. And the key is, they wanted to see how complex they could get with these vibrations. Yeah, to emphasize again too, it's painless, it's not hurting the animal in any way. And they didn't want to just be, have a vibration on the left-hand side, meaning the dog turns left, or right, turn right. It has to be more complex than that because of the different situations they could be in. And they found that the dogs were actually very good at picking up what these sensors would mean. So they'd have one on the front left would mean, just an example, like come to me, or something else would mean, lay down, or different kinds of aspects of that, walk backward, spin. And so I think it's a great utilization of technology in this aspect. Like if you can get the dog in there and be able to understand what's going on and be able to find people in, say, an earthquake or a situation like that, you could have a camera on them, you could be able to control them easily, the dog's not being hurt, the dog clearly is enjoying the situation. It's I think, a really, really cool use of technology to help people. And that's really what it comes down to. It's helping people, right? You're utilizing technology like that to try to figure out different situations where you can help them. They tried it on a number of dogs. varying breeds, ages, and training backgrounds, and they found pretty good success with it. They still have some more testing to do based on that technology and how sensitive they can get with it, how specific they can get with it, different kinds of fur. But even that kind of stuff, you could see that being extrapolated to different uses. And I think haptic technology is something we're going to see utilized in a lot of different interesting ways going forward over the next few years, but certainly something at the cutting edge of technology and a different kind of use of something like that. All right. Let's continue on talking about some other technology. I'm going to tell you about a launch that's going to be happening later today that you can watch. But before we get to the new launch, let's talk about the old launch. So the Falcon rocket launch that happened a couple of months ago launched important for a number of reasons, not only just the launch itself and how successful it was, but also some of the items that it put up into space. And one of those was something from the Planetary Society, and it is called the LightSail 2. Now, we covered this pretty extensively back when it was launched, and it's something from Bill Nye, well, Bill Nye the Science Guy, if you know who Bill Nye is, I think we all do. So he's the head of the Planetary Society, a nonprofit organization, and this LightSail 2 is important for a few different reasons and what it's going to be experimenting with. So I say light sail because that is essentially it. It's very aptly named, I will say. It's a giant sail that unfurls in space, and it uses the sun's rays as propulsion. So it can take a tiny amount of the sun's rays, and it will use that and slowly build up and build up and build up and use that as a real sail, like it was wind, only with the light's rays, and build up speed. There's a few different reasons this is important. One, it's free. If the fuel is free. You're just utilizing the sun's rays, that's it. So that's a very important aspect of space travel. Cost, carrying fuel, that's a huge issue. So you see the demonstration here as it's starting to unfurl. So that's something that you can utilize with it. And then on top of that, because of that, you're able to take it to a number of different places. You can travel throughout the solar system. It'll slowly pick up speed. It can end up going very fast. Right now, it's for the next month or so, it's going to be orbiting Earth, and so there you can get an idea of it unfurling. And they're just going to be testing it out. They want to increase its orbit to about 450 miles out, and then it's going to coast for about a year, and then they're going to see what else they can do with it and go forward with other experimentation. But if we want to travel and we want to see more of the solar system, and we want to utilize different technologies, that is a very efficient way to do it. It does take time, so it's not something that we would probably be sending people with for quite a while. It takes a while to build up speed when you're using something like that, but that's eventually somewhere where we can get. So that's the LightSail 2, an experiment that's out there right now. You can check that out at digitaltrends.com. And finally, I want to tell you about another launch that's going on today, and it's another Falcon 9 rocket launch. It feels like every month they're having another one, but this one in particular is important because of what it's bringing to the International Space Station, and that is over 5,000 pounds of scientific equipment. So the Falcon 9 rocket, scheduled to launch later today, actually. The launch window is for Wednesday, July 24th, and that's what they were broadcasting. You know, it could go forward, may not launch today. You never know. It depends on the weather with those kinds of things. Scheduled for 3:24 p.m. Pacific, but NASA's going to be having a live stream in association with it, and this is SpaceX's 18th operational cargo flight to the ISS. That's a lot. That's a lot of successful cargo flights, and this one is going to be launching, like I said, later on today. But some of the key things it'll take up: a lot of scientific equipment. It's also going to be bringing up an Amos 17 communication satellite, which is going to provide broadband internet to a large portion of Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. That's important. We all know how important broadband access is. But some of the scientific equipment that it's bringing up is pretty amazing, including a 3D printer that they say may eventually be able to print human organs that they're going to be testing. So a lot of stuff that has to be tested in space. We see the space tourism industry increasing. We have to be able to adapt with that and make sure that people are going to be safe in space the longer they spend time up there. And so these kinds of launches are important. And if you want to follow along with what those experiments are, you can check that out at digitaltrends.com. They're kind of walking through some of the different ones, different experiments that we're going to be seeing, and interesting stuff to see what's going to happen with this. I'll definitely be watching the launch. That's coming up later today. You can follow along at digitaltrends.com. All right. This is Digital Trends Live, and we thank everyone who joins us here every day. I'm Greg Nibbler. We broadcast live on a number of different platforms, so hit that subscribe button to make sure you get the notification, because we like to talk to you and with you, and that's one of the important things of this show. And right now, we've got a very special guest joining us. We have Charles Lee, the CEO of Ideation, who's hopping on to talk about their company. Hello.
Hey, great to be with you today.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us today. I want to talk about this. So your tagline is you're an idea execution company. an idea execution company. And I want to walk through what exactly that means, and then we'll get into some of the innovation side and everything else that you're doing.
Yeah, basically we work with decision makers and executives of various brands that need clarity around their strategy or working on a process for innovation. And we come alongside of them to make sure that they move it not just from a strategic planning type of context, but all the way through helping them manage some of that execution.
So what was your inspiration for being involved in this, and how did you, maybe a little bit of your background and how you became the CEO of this company?
Yeah, I noticed that there was a common pain point, and that was like you had two separate worlds coexisting. One was the world of strategy, where there were a lot of strategic work being done and things like organizational management, strategic planning. And then on the other side was this creative world, all of the various agencies, creative, digital, web, those kinds of agencies. And I thought in order to really effectively execute well in our world, you kind of need both strategists and creatives in the room. So established a company about 10 years ago where we have a group of consultants as well as a group of creatives working side by side to make sure stuff actually gets done. And the numbers are pretty staggering on how things don't get done. So
I think that's true. It's so many different organizations. Like you have a great idea, but then somehow it gets lost, or somehow nobody can figure out how to execute it, and so it's like, well, we'll just put that to the side, and it never gets utilized. Talking about the innovation side, and kind of with the work in innovation, like a company comes up with a product. I know that you have kind of a platform that there's 3 different types of innovation. Is that right? Can you walk us through those?
Right. Yeah, if you look through like kind of the work of innovation and the trends in innovation, basically it lands in 3 large buckets. The first being that is a type of innovation might be a systemic innovation. And this is kind of at the core of maybe a new type of business or completely changing a strategic approach or business model. You have companies like Uber and Airbnb that have completely kind of disrupted the market. But you also have like product innovation and things like, when Intuit introduced TurboTax, they took what they were really good at and made it even better. Or you have brand innovation or a customer experience innovation where you take something that people are used to and improve it that much more. I remember when Virgin America first came on, they really tried to reimagine what the whole flying experience might be. And I think when you're working in the area of innovation, it's really important to kind of understand which type of innovation are you going for, because for all of these 3 different types of innovation requires different people in the room. Obviously, if you're doing a systemic innovation, you kind of need the decision makers at the highest levels of the organization. So understanding what innovation you're actually trying to engage may impact how you solve it.
That's a great way to look at it, just those different kinds of innovation. Now, when there's a company that wants to try to foster more innovation themselves, I mean, especially with technology, and clearly, we're a tech publication, but so we see a lot of this, just how technology changes so quick. And to be able to innovate and adapt to what's happening in the marketplace or just the industry as a whole is very important. How do you foster and help encourage that kind of innovation within an organization?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think moving from treating innovation as kind of a one-off endeavor or a department that focuses on it. Not too long ago, we were participating in a study with crowd companies around some of the top types of innovation moves that corporations were making. And whether it's setting up a innovation center or sending a team to an outpost, say you are a company based in the middle of the country, but want to be more in tune with what's happening in Silicon Valley. Some companies have sent teams out to Silicon Valley to kind of create an office of research and development. But it's really like understanding that innovation is not an add-on. It's really the core and the DNA of any business.
Yeah, so making sure that that's instilled from the beginning for everybody that's part of the organization. So when someone comes to your company, to yours, to talk about what you can do with them, like say a company wants to come to you, what would be the first steps working with you?
Yeah, I think it's working through a process of really framing what the real job that needs to be done actually is, framing the challenge and the problem well. Because then behind most problems are kind of driving presuppositions and assumptions about a particular state. And what we found is the more time we spend clarifying the problem you're really trying to solve, and then on the other side, understanding with a high level of empathy what your customers, or maybe even if it's an internal element, what your team actually needs, and bridging that gap and working past our blind spots and actually seeing the problem for what it is has gone a long way. And ultimately, what is the outcome you really, really want to see as a result?
What are some healthy habits that innovative like leaders can help foster within their organization?
Yeah, a couple of things that we see commonly among pretty high performing innovators. One is they find a way to carve out time to actually do things like write. They often take, whether it's on the weekend or during the week, they go to a place that's much grander than themselves, which means like maybe the beach, the mountains. And they also do things like they know how to play well. And I think that's kind of a lost art, is that somehow play triggers different areas of our brain that are not normally tapped into, whether it's competition, and it releases certain type of chemicals that sparks new ways of looking at things. So things like that. And then regularly being in an environment that they're not used to. So what I encourage and what I do myself is every year is try to go to a conference or two that's outside of my space, just to see how people look at problems and how they solve it. And that's, instead of going to another conference in the industry, and those are needed too, but on top of that, put yourself out, because often innovation is a result of two or more seemingly unrelated things intersecting that produces a creative idea. And the more we can intentionally put ourselves in those spontaneous environments that are not natural, often sparks new ways of thinking about solutions.
That is such great advice, because I mean, that's true. If you're doing the same thing, the monotonous thing every single day, it's hard to think outside of that. It's really easy to just kind of get yourself insulated and be like, okay, well, no, this is the line of thinking. Why can't I think of something new? Because you need that other stimuli, other experiences. And I think that's so important to you, that play aspect, or going out to something bigger than you. I feel like that's something that's overlooked a lot in business right now. And,
yeah, it's so easy, but it's so doable for everyone, and it helps a ton.
And it's good for the bottom line in the end. I mean, it's
Absolutely,
good.
yeah.
It's a good business practice to
absolutely.
take a break from business. That's just so important. Well, for your company in particular too, and I want to get back to this too, just to make sure that we emphasize it. What I said earlier, what's the first step for a company to come work with you? But maybe you can tell us, from your perspective, what do you look for in a potential client?
Yeah, we look for people who actually want to create change. And I think that there is a real problem to solve. So, the way that we distinguish it is there's a difference between creativity, just being creative for the sake of being creative, and actually solving something. I think innovation is really about solving problems. So that the way that we kind of filter our opportunities is if it's a problem that could actually create some impact or good in our world, whether that helps the company grow or scale, or whether it's an actual like social good. Those are the types of projects and partners we're looking for, because all that energy put into solving something should ultimately yield something that's positive for our world.
That's a great advice. Well, what's the best website for people to go to for you?
Yeah, for me, it's our company website. It's www.theideation.com.
Well, Charles, thank you very much for being here on the show with us. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who took some inspiration from what you just said. I certainly did, and we appreciate you joining us. Theideation.com. That's where people can go and find out more information. Charles, thanks for being here on Digital Trends Live.
Thanks for having me.
All right, really fascinating discussion right there. Thinking about it, I mean, I think we can all utilize some of that advice no matter what you're in. Sometimes think outside the box a little bit. Do something a little bit different. Change up your day. It's going to help you out in the long run. So we have more to talk about right now. We've discussed a lot of smart homes, a lot of smart home technology throughout the show today, and we have making his debut on Digital Trends Live. Coming up next from our New York studio, we have John Velasco, who is our smart home editor here for Digital Trends. Going to be joining us to kind of bring us up to date on 3 big stories that he wanted to talk about. We've got that and more coming up here on Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thank you for joining us. We broadcast live every weekday at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you up to date on tech headlines. And that's what we're going to be doing right now. I'm Greg Nibbler here in our Portland, Oregon studio. We have our New York studio, and standing by, we have our smart home editor making his debut on the show today, John Velasco. Hello, John.
Hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Doing good. So here's what we're going to do today. So John has 3 different things that he wants to talk about with smart homes, just kind of some things that we're covering. There's a lot that we cover at Digital Trends, but in particular, I wanted to talk about this one that I brought up earlier today. So I'm a terrible gardener. I'm just going to admit that. I am not good. I've killed so many plants, and I'm trying not to do that. But there's a product out there using robotics that might be able to help with that. Can you walk us through what that is?
Yeah, so it's a smart robot, and basically what it is a company called FarmBot, and they have actually 2 new models coming out. It's called the FarmBot Express and Express XL, and basically what it is it's gardening but automated. So instead of having you doing all the dirty work, this thing's pretty much pre-assembled, so it's shipped to you, and you do some minor tweaks to get it up and running. And basically, you could become a farmer very quickly. You could start gardening. You could produce different types of vegetables for it. You could have broccoli, lettuce, radishes, pretty much anything you want. And the whole thing's automated, so you could access it through an app. It's something you set up outdoors. Of course, it's like in this box, and there's like a robot arm that actually puts the seeds into the soil and manages all the gardening tools for you. You could even do things like scare away some crows if there are any that's coming out. And it just allows you to monitor, track in real time your produce. So it just makes the whole process of gardening hassle-free. And for anyone like myself who isn't a big gardener, it's easy setup. And right now it's going to be launching, I believe, in late fall, November 2019. And the nice thing too is that these second generation models, they're cheaper because now they are starting out at $1,500. So pretty much anyone who isn't really familiar or comfortable with gardening, they could just jump right in and have this all done for them. And of course, you reap all the rewards. You get the produce, and you could do whatever you want. So if you want to start up your own supermarket, hey, that's an option for you.
It feels a little bit like cheating, but at the same time, it's the cheating that I would want to do. I mean, if at the end of the day you get the produce, I just would want to be able to hide it before any of my friends came over, so they could just be like, oh, yeah, no, I did all of this on my own, but quickly disassemble it and hide it away. I don't know if you can do that aspect, but still, pretty cool. And now there's a couple other items that we're covering here at Digital Trends that we want to talk about. This next one has to do with a new kind of, is it a smart bed or a smart pod? Can you walk us through what this is, the 8 Sleep pod?
Yeah, so this is a smart bed, and it's from a company called 8 Sleep. And it's pretty interesting because it's obviously a smart bed, but the way it works is that it actually will regulate your temperature in your bed. So if you're the kind of person who doesn't like waking up being all sweaty, or let's say there's a heat wave happening and your AC unit's not working that great, and you just find yourself sweating at night because your bed is warm. Of course, if you have a warm apartment, warm bedroom, it's going to cause you to toss and turn. You're not going to get great sleep. So with the pod, it's a smart bed, company called 8 Sleep. And basically what it does is that there is this hub that attaches to this bed. So this bed you get, and it pumps water, so you're able to actually regulate the temperature. It's meant for 2 people, so you can adjust the coolness, whether you want something a lot cooler to help you sleep at night better. And there's also some biometrics that it populates. So it'll tell you how much sleep you're getting, the effectiveness of your sleep, how long it takes you to fall asleep. And for people who want to get a good night's sleep, it's something great because you're not sweating and it's always flowing with water. That's the key thing though. There is water, from what I'm told. It's actually a little bit on the loud side maybe, but it eventually drowns out the more you use it. So if you don't want to wake up in a sweat because your bed is warm, this is something you might want to look at. It starts at $2,000 for a queen size mattress, And there is some setup involved. Obviously, you're going to have someone come in to actually set it up for you. They do offer that service for you. They'll even take your bed, your bed at home, and they'll set it all up for you. And yeah, so if you don't want to sweat at night falling asleep or even waking up, this is something to look at.
Okay, I like that idea because I definitely would want it to be cool. I like the idea of being able to control it. So that's awesome. We've got to write up about that at digitaltrends.com. But you talked about, you know, it being hot out. It is the summer. We have some heat waves going on, and there are some certain advantages to smart thermostats that I hadn't actually thought about that I know you want to walk through with us. So can you tell us how a smart thermostat can actually help you out during brownouts or blackouts or different power issues?
So, like, most of the country just experienced that heat wave, and you know it's taxing on the infrastructure, on the power grid. So, with today's smart thermostats, whether you're using a Nest or something similar, you could actually help that out. So, you could help prevent brownouts from happening. So, as most of you know, if most of you don't know, smart thermostats, they help to regulate the temperature in your home. So, they connect to your existing AC or heating system. And the benefits of this is that you're going to get something that monitors your temperature at home when you're away. So rather than keeping your AC system on when you're at work, it knows that. It tracks your habits. So eventually it learns that. So when you go to work at, let's say, 8 o'clock in the morning, no one is home, it's going to lower the temperature down. So, or even turn it off completely. And then when you come back home, of course, a little bit before, let's say an hour before you arrive home, it'll slowly cool down your home just to make it ideal for you when you get home. So in the long run here, it's saving you power. But there are some programs out there, specifically this one from Nest. It's called Rush Hour Rewards. And what it does is basically it rewards users who actually are enlisted in this program. So basically, Rush Hour Rewards, it'll also track and monitor the electricity that you're using. And eventually, you're going to get some sort of discounts on certain products. And in the long run, it's just going to help out your home become more efficient as far as AC, you know, cooling it down, warming it up. And it's not going to impact the power grid as much. Let's say when everyone decides to turn on their AC units at 5 o'clock as soon as they get home, or 6. So it's a good way of actually helping the environment and also saving you some money in the process.
Okay, that's given me more to think about than with the smart home thermostat. I've been adding more and more items to the smart home. Just after Prime Day, I picked up even more stuff. So smart thermostat, that might be the next purchase that I'm gonna have to make. And we've got write-ups on all of those at digitaltrends.com. John, thank you very much for joining us here, making your debut on Digital Trends Live. You're gonna be seeing John a lot. And check out all of his articles and all the reviews at digitaltrends.com. John, thanks.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
All right, let's do this. Let's kind of wrap up and talk about what we've covered here on the show today, which is a lot. And going back to the beginning of the show, we have Parker Hall in here. Parker, much appreciated, stopping by to talk about some of the news. A lot going on in the world of big tech versus big government. I mean, it's huge right now. There's the launch of the Justice Department investigation, the antitrust investigation. So certainly something to follow along with. We've got all the coverage at digitaltrends.com. Now, after that, walking through who we have on the show. Let's go back to the beginning of the show today, and we broadcast live here every day. Micah Jackson from Escapes, using virtual reality and massage chairs. He put the two together and created a business. Interesting use of VR. I think that's kind of at the forefront of something where maybe we can see a new path for virtual reality to be utilized by a lot of people. We have Luke Larson with his 3 different laptops. Sounds like I chose the right one, but you can go back through and watch that segment. Let us know which one you wanted to select. We have Michael York from Crop Corp, the CEO and director. So talking about cannabis and the intersection of AI and robotics and this whole new business platform for the agricultural industry. We had Charles Lee from Ideation, the CEO from them, talking about different ways that you can foster innovation. And sometimes it takes getting out of the office or doing something different or walking through some different ways to help foster that and that creativity and that use. So very, very cool. Charles from Ideation. And John Velasco, smart home editor here for Digital Trends, making his debut. You will see him a lot. Check out all of his articles at digitaltrends.com. Tomorrow on the show, Number 1, Felicia Miranda, our video game editor, will be joining us to bring us up to date on the world of video games. And also, Al Roker. Yes, Al Roker. the Al Roker, will be on the show with Jeremy Kaplan. That's happening tomorrow on the show as well. See, that's the thing. Every day at Digital Trends Live, you never know who you're going to get. You never know what you're going to be talking about. And that's part of the fun for me, myself as well. And I love being here with you every single day. Thanks for joining us. Always drop in your comments. Always drop in your questions. We're interactive. That's what makes us different. We enjoy talking with you, not at you. So that's what part of the fun of Digital Trends Live. And thanks for being here. We will be back tomorrow with another episode.